Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where purpose meets performance. Hosted by business strategist and human behavior specialist Carly Pepin, this show dives into the real stories behind high-growth businesses. Let's bring life to your vision.
Hey guys, so welcome to Built for This. I'm really looking forward to today. We have Sam Berman here, and Sam and I had a great conversation before we hopped on, so this I think is going to be a really cool one. Sam Berman is the founder and CEO of Logistics Advanced Research Center, LARC. That's a technology-driven packaging and logistics company redefining how the world's most valuable equipment moves. LARC designs and deploys reusable modular crate systems purpose-built for high-value mission-critical assets, including data center infrastructure, advanced electronics, aerospace components, and emerging AI hardware. A lifelong builder and entrepreneur, Sam has spent decades challenging legacy assumptions across logistics, manufacturing, and supply chain operations. Under his leadership, LARC has become a trusted partner to hyperscalers, global manufacturers, and tier one logistics providers by delivering solutions that improve protection, security, sustainability, and total cost of ownership. Known for his direct leadership style and systems level thinking, Sam is focused on building durable platforms that scale globally and solve problems others accept as unavoidable. He lives in Tennessee with his wife, Kate, and their children. So welcome, Sam.
Very happy to be here, Carly. Good to see you again. Happy New Year to you and everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. Same to you. I appreciate you being on. So I know when we originally talked, you were talking about how LARC started from a napkin sketch at a restaurant. It makes me think of Picasso, by the way. I don't know if you know the story about Picasso when he tried to sell a napkin sketch at a restaurant one time.
I vaguely know the story, actually. I'm big into art, so I do.
Yeah, basically Picasso drew a picture on a napkin sketch. Someone wanted to buy it. He tried to charge him 20 grand because he's Picasso.
Yeah.
And obviously they said no, and I'm sure they probably thought later it probably would be a wise investment. But you at LARC have also been sketching on napkins at restaurants like Picasso.
And by the way, if anyone wants to give me 20 grand for that napkin, because it's right there in that frame right there, I will take that right now. So any offers will be there. Yeah, it did actually start sort of the consummate Silicon Valley story, right? I was working in Silicon Valley, went to lunch with a gentleman who owned a very large wood crating company. And he was telling me at the time he had a bunch of server racks coming in. And I said, just kind of jokingly, I said, hey, why don't you put a big giant toilet paper tube around those things and call it good? What are you spending $1,400, to make those millions of dollars in that? And he went to the restroom. I just kind of thought about it. I said, I think I could do this better. And I grabbed a pen and a napkin from the waiter, and I just drew a real quick sketch, that sketch right there, and went home later that day, did a little bit of research, and said, oh my gosh, this actually might work. And so lo and behold, that's sort of the birth certificate of LARC. And it really is. And there's a lot in the Silicon Valley, a lot of things like that happen, right? There's a lot of napkin sketches, a lot of kind of conversations around in cafes and diners and so forth. And they have been built $1 trillion companies. So yeah, it is that exact story. That's exactly what happened. And here we are 10 years later.
It's amazing. And I'm curious too, because when you start to think about the difference between the packaging that you've created versus like this kind of old-fashioned wood crate version, what would you say like with the old model is making it unsustainable for companies to be able to continue to move forward with something that's more complicated and sounds like significantly more expensive?
Yeah, the example I always give is, would you buy a supercar? $5 million supercar, and it got delivered to your house in a wood box, you'd be very upset about that. But every day we'll move $5 million bleeding edge, server racks in that same thing, and no one bats an eye. The thing is, if you think about wood, and there's nothing sexy about crating, right? No one's going to, run to this podcast and say, I cannot wait to hear about packaging. But when you look at what it actually is and how it drives the entire world forward and supports infrastructure that allows us to even be on this podcast, right? This is running through some massive data centers right now. What do you have to do to get a wood crate done? And that's been done for 4,000 years since the time of Egypt, right? Is go cut down some trees, process those with a bunch of chemicals, ton of transportation, nail those together, foams, all kinds of different things, and then put your multi-million-dollar product in that and ship it. And then it gets taken out, hauled away, thrown into a burn pit. None of that happens with LARC. We are sort of the 21st century version of how you move very advanced products. And that is, we're made of durable materials, plastics, steel, other types of material. And those are reusable and they're modular. So everything comes together breaks down once it's done, ships back, it's lighter, it's stronger. In fact, we've never had a single product damaged in one of our crates, knock on wood. I always tell customers, say, if you're the first one, you're going right on our website. You're going to be very famous because you did something really squirrely. But yeah, it's a whole different thing. We took everything wrong with the traditional legacy models and we just revamped them, fixed it, and built it from the ground up. Now, having said that, that's very hard to do because you're talking about systems that have been around literally for thousands of years. I mean, there's, rum barrels and, people threw tea, boxes into the bay, right? So it's been that way the whole time. And we've just made better ways to build a wood box, right? A better mousetrap. And we just revamped the entire solution, the entire system. And we've paired up with a bunch of the largest logistics companies in the world. And so we match that with our packaging as a service. They ship them out, they manage them. It's an entirely new paradigm. So it's been a big shift and a big uphill battle to get there, but here we are. So
yeah,
everything about it's just different.
So this is very cool because it's like, we kind of talk about, it's like you drew it on a napkin and now this is what you do today. So it's challenging the whole concept of how we've been shipping for centuries. It's challenging the concept of also not having these reusable materials for shipping. I think, didn't you say you rented stuff as well? Like you can, right? Yeah.
So our entire models,
this is crazy.
We don't sell crates. And the reason is, if you sell them, anything you sell, someone has ownership of, and they think, one, it costs a lot of money, and two, I'm going to do whatever I want with it, which means I'm just going to store in a warehouse for the next 40 years, or I'm going to throw it in a pit or burn it up or something like they do in Mexico and Malaysia. What we do is wholly different. We have packaging as a service, meaning companies going to lease our crates on a monthly basis, generally under contract. And that allows us to do a couple things. It allows the cost to come way, way down. So we're about 30 to 40% less expensive, which is super cool because we make a product that's absolutely bleeding edge and actually costs less. It's almost impossible to do that, but we've found a way to do that. And it's doing it through the service model. And so really the big companies, the hyperscalers, the big industrial guys, they love this model. One, from an accounting perspective, it gets it out of their CapEx. They're not buying something, they use it once and throw it away, which is terrible for business. It's a terrible business model. But it also gets it into their operating, model. So they can go out there and say, okay, this is a way cheaper solution. It's a cost to the company, and it just works out much better. And from a sustainability perspective, it's not even close, right? So if you use wood crate once, and about 93% of those were used one time, you can't think of many things in the world that a company buys, uses once, and then throws out.
Yeah.
That's a terrible model. And they actually pay someone to haul that away. So it's a very expensive model. It's a horrible sustainability profile. So you might use a wood crate. Sometimes I'll use them 2 or 3 times. I'll ship them back again. You'll use mine 500 times. So the delta is so massive that it's hard to argue. So not only are you getting a better, more protective, highly engineered product, you're getting it folds down, it takes up less storage space, it costs less. I mean, it's sort of the trifecta of wins, right? So it's just an entire paradigm shift. And now we're really starting to grow and work with those big companies out there, and they're coming to us for special projects. And it's pretty neat solution. We're excited about it as we move forward here.
I think this is so cool because it kind of just breaks the idea of packaging for me, where it's like any type of packaging. It's like we get it, we use it, we toss it, we throw it away. So the sustainability dynamic is amazing. When did you start to realize, like, what was going on within the company, the product, when you started to realize, like, we can start renting these things out, like these are that sustainable? Or was it something that you actually in the beginning said, I'm going to make this so sustainable, I can basically create like a rental product? Like, which one came first? I'm curious.
So it happened very early on in the company. I was actually talking to a gentleman I knew out in Silicon Valley who's one of the actually early investors in Google. And I was talking to him about it. He said, why don't you just lease them? And I thought, oh, that's probably a good idea. Awesome. And the whole paradigm shifted, the whole vision shifted at that point, because I thought, if we do that, imagine a situation where you have a company that has to move 100,000 of their product that year. If they buy wood crates, that's 100,000 wood crates. You can do that on mine in 8 to 10,000 crates. So that's how big of a change that is. And we thought, by doing it that way, it's like rental cars, right? I don't have to buy 1,000 cars. I have to buy 100 cars and rent them 10 times, right? So that model changed everything. And we've kind of changed the vision in some of these industries we're with now. The wood crate manufacturers come in and say, well, we make reusable crates too. You can use them 5, 10 times. Okay. Again, it's not 500 times, right? Or 1,000 times. So the chasm is so wide that the model has to ultimately go in this direction, and we really have shifted the ground on that a lot, just
Yeah,
in the industry.
that's very cool.
It's a lot of, in fact, something interesting is happening. We're starting, our name is starting to become synonymous with our crates. I mean, that, Saran wrap was the name of the company, right?
Oh
And,
yeah.
it's Saran. So people say put it in a LARC now. It's almost like the name of the process. So the product has become LARCs. So we're kind of excited when we hear that.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's like when we say just Google it. It's actually we're like
Just
go to a search engine and look for it, and we're like just
search it,
Google it.
right? Just do it.
Yeah.
That's kind of that we've had that happen to us a number of times out
How
in the,
exciting is that?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
this is exciting. And I'm curious too, so when you were creating the prototype of this, right? Because I imagine like doing the prototype dynamic, how long did it actually take to get this from something in your head to the physical product in the way it is today?
Oh, that was a process. So something about LARC is we're not packaging engineers, which is a good thing. We're mechanical engineers and solutions architects and logisticians. So we think about things very differently. And so we approach things from a much more elegant perspective, a much more mechanical perspective. We're not tied into this is how you do it, which is great. So we were able to really do some different things. But having said that, our solution looks very simple when you utilize it, but simple in engineering is really, really hard to get to, right? You can make all kinds of complex, crazy, contraptions, but to get to simple took 3 iterations. I mean, we're on generation 3. And so we built a number of small prototypes and just kept going. And we failed a lot, which was interesting, but we learned from every failure. So when we finally got to our 3rd real generation, we finally had what we were looking for, but we still keep our old ones just because we want to look, because they look so clunky and weird. But we look at them, we say, we know why we did this in the end, because that was so stupid, right? Or that
Yeah.
was such a goofy, like kind of gimpy way to do that. And so we kind of, we keep our past with us, so we understand where we came from. But it did take 3 iterations, different processes, different types of, plastics processes, different types of metal solutions. We had to, weights and measures and so forth. And so now we're sort of at a point where we're moving on to our Gen 4 and Gen 5 units. So it took probably, oh gosh, close to 3 years to get it right.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think, that's just a box, right? But the way we do it, and the protections and what we call ablative engineering that we utilize, so it absorbs energy and all this kind of stuff. It's a very unique product, but it's a very simple product in the end. But as I said, simple is really hard to get to from an engineering perspective. So
That's
about 3
cool.
years total.
And
Yeah.
while you were doing it within that, like even first 3 years, were you still able to just start the company, utilize the products, or did it take a certain amount of time before you were like, I'm ready to launch this, I'm ready to put someone else's product in it?
Yeah, when you build the first iteration of something, you kind of are stuck until you have a marketable product. I mean, you
Yep.
can get like minimum viable products. That's kind of a Silicon Valley standard, right? Get whatever you can to the market. And we did, but the problem was when you're moving $1 million pieces of equipment, nobody wants your minimum viable product. They want something that actually works well. So we had to really wait those 3 years and kind of grind it out to get to that point. But that's kind of the part of entrepreneurship that is, right? Like it's a grind. You got to get to a product that the world wants. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it took the whole probably 3 years to get there, and going through all the goofy iterations and, head scratching and why didn't that work and why did this work kind of process. But here we are today. And what we do now is, we get a lot of information from the field, from our customers. We're constantly reiterating in our generations, generation 3.5, generation 4, generation 4.5. So that's a great thing. Now we're at a point where the platform exists, and now we can just really start to improve upon it, year after year. So we're in a really good position. But it took all those 3 years.
All the 3 years.
Yeah.
And I'm curious too, just even on a personal level, because 3 years is a long time to invest in this product, right? And whenever we invest in a product, there's a level of certainty and uncertainty. So what made you decide I'm going to invest 3 years in this, even though I can't even launch it now, I can't do minimum viable, I can't create the income off of it? What made you decide to put that level of investment in? What made you so certain?
The industry demanded it
Yeah.
had to be built. That's why there's very few industries in the world that are archaic as wood boxes, right?
Yeah.
And the opportunity is so massive that you just had to stick it out, knowing that we were paradigm shifting, and those are the hardest, steepest companies to build, because you always come up against that's the way it's always been done scenario.
Yeah.
But the opportunity was just too big to pass up. And we did it the hard way, right? We did it coming up as a bootstrap company, local investors, that type of thing. We didn't get institutional money. Still to this day, don't have institutional money. Been offered it many times, but haven't taken it. But we just knew. We knew immediately. Oh, my first meeting was with one of the hyperscalers. And I said, if I built this, would you be interested in this? And they were like, absolutely, we would be interested in that. And I knew immediately. I said we were onto something. And so we don't just move, data servers. We move robotics and automation systems and luxury brands and high security things, phones and all types of things. And I just knew that this was where the market was going to go. And one of our early meetings with one of the hyperscalers, one of their guys said to us, "Oh, you guys are absolutely the future of creating. This is where this has to go." And so when you start hearing things like that at that level, you say, oh, "Okay, there's nothing stopping us. We're going to crawl, scratch, climb, do whatever we need to do to get up this hill." And that's what we've done. And we're kind of coming over the peak of that hill. And so, yeah, that was just it. It was just, and the other thing is, honestly, I'm a pure entrepreneur. I have an entrepreneurial mindset, and literally wrote a book about it, about the psychology of doing this and what you have to become and how you have to grow as an individual to do these things. It's not for everybody. So the people who do it have to be absolute grinders. They have to be people who just know the vision, and they know there's gonna be times that really are lean. They know there's gonna be times that just purely suck, but you got to embrace the suck and you just got to go after it, because some ideas are just too big. And I'm going to tell you something that it's interesting. The ideas that are the least sexy ideas are the ones that just change the world. Having said that, I wish I had invented Spanx. That's not a unsexy idea, and it's very, vanity driven, but
which is amazing, by the way.
It is amazing. I mean, we're the opposite of the vanity driven, but the unsexy is the thing that actually platforms the world. All these data centers out there, they're just big boxes filled with other boxes with electronics in them, right? And there's trillions and trillions of dollars. Somehow those things have to get shipped and get in there. It's how the sausage is made, and there's nothing about it to get people to go, "God, I want to grow up and make boxes. That's my dream." But when you look at what it means, it's the choke point of international commerce. People think, "What's an afterthought? It's just a box." Is it just a box, or is it the thing that's actually the conveyance that's going to carry the future ahead? And if you look at it that way, it really becomes interesting and really, really dynamic to be involved in. And so we make something. I literally had one of our customers, we were walking out after they saw it, and they said, he pulled me aside, he goes, "I don't know how you guys did it, but you guys made a crate look sexy." I literally said, "Because we're all about sexy at LARC. So that's why we do it." Our crates actually look cool. They look like the Batmobile of crates. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's fine. I demand that in the company, that labels are perfect, that things look, cutting edge, because that's where we are now. That's who we are. That's how we have to present ourselves to the world. So
yeah, I love all the stuff you shared too. And I totally agree with you that it's like every time I talk to a company and they think they have a boring business, I'm like, how can you say that? I was like, do you know what you do? Do you know where it goes? Do you know the impact it makes? And the boring businesses are often some of the most exciting ones. They're not going to look as flashy on the outside, but it's like the impact that you make is flashier than you can't even imagine.
That's right. I mean, when we're moving things like bleeding edge robotic systems, and we have a customer that makes pizza making robots, I just think that's the coolest thing in the world, right?
My husband's gonna want that.
Yes, yeah. It's a super cool system. And we move military products, and we move automation systems and server racks that are worth literally millions and millions of dollars that literally drive the world, right? So you start to engage with these companies that are very sexy. I mean, the Googles of the world, or the Metas of the world, or the Boeings of the world, and suddenly we make boxes, but I'm sitting here talking to the head of this massive company, and they're significantly interested in what we're doing because it changes what they're doing and changes the way the world operates. So there's nothing boring, right? I always tell people, like, listen, if I started a donut store, it'd be the best damn donut store in the world. It's going to look cool. We're going to make our own sprinkles and whatever. But you're right. Boring is not boring in this world anymore, because everything undergirds something else.
Yeah, I love that. Hey everyone, it's Carly. If you're really resonating with what we're talking about and want to get clear on what truly drives you, what your core values are, head on over to my website. In the tools and tips section, there is a free values assessment. And this is a quick exercise that's going to help you to uncover what actually matters most with you so you can lead and live with more clarity, fulfillment, and momentum. Something you also mentioned, which I'm curious to find a little bit more about, is how particular you were with investments, right? So tell me a little bit more about that, because you're refusing certain types of investments, and I would love for you to share with the listeners why. I think that's something that people can get really excited about is having investors and not look enough at sometimes the downsides and is this like a practical decision for my company?
Yeah, like I said, I spent a career in Silicon Valley and I started a number of other companies. And I'd spent time, as we say, on Sand Hill Road in Palo Alto with the big investment houses, the venture guys. And, what I discovered was when you start a company, it's better to bootstrap it and find local investors who are smart and actually care about what you're doing to the point of being
Yeah.
personally involved in it. We live in a time when we have the technology to start companies pretty easily in terms of just getting things off the ground and realizing a vision and being able to share that vision with thousands and thousands of people. So investment should come early on anyway from people who are close to you, who are local to you. Like most of our investors, most of them, some are from California, most of them are from Tennessee, but
Hmm.
they care, right? And there is smart money in the world. Meaning my investors will call me, they'll call my co-founder, Chris Taylor, and they'll say, hey, how things going? How can we help? Those kinds of things are invaluable. And also when you do it that way, you don't overinvest early on, meaning, the guys in Palo Alto starting some company that raised $200 million and they've got skateboard ramps and beer, Fridays and all this kind of stuff. That doesn't
Yep.
lend to focus of getting something done. There needs to be some level of desperation earlier where you're desperate enough to be creative in how you solve problems, right? Because otherwise people just throw money at it. Next thing you know, all the money's gone. And
Yeah.
so there needs to be a little bit of desperation in the early part of that. And there needs to be smart money coming into it. Now, that doesn't say there's not a place for big venture firms who really become more like bankers, in my opinion. They've tried to de-risk the whole thing. Um, Local investors accept more risk because they know you personally, and knowing someone personally in that relationship is the single most important thing you can have in any business. But once you grow to a certain level, the institutions want to come in. We've had a number of customers ask us to invest in our company, which we have turned down because we don't want to, get pigeonholed in that. But there is a space for that if you're growing a company that way. But if you can do it the way we've done it with local investment, guys who continue to come back in because they love what we're doing and see the progress, it's a much better way to do it. It's a harder way to do it, no doubt. It's going
Yeah.
to take you longer to do it, but at the end of the day, you control more of your company, more of your destiny. The people around you genuinely care about you, not just as a company, but as a human being, which makes
Yeah.
all the difference in the world. And it also shows how you shape your team, right? LARC is very much, we're like almost like a family, right? We bring in people who share our values because we don't have institutions or someone sitting on our board saying, you're going to do it this way and this way and this way. It's like, no, we're going to do it the way we do it because we care. And caring is probably 99% of the battle. So that's
Yeah.
my view on investing in general. I don't tend to take institutional money for anything I've done. I have done it in the past. I didn't like it. So this is how we're doing it. And,
Yeah.
it's
You
worked out
actually
well.
make you're making like really amazing points too, because it's not even just the culture of a company that you have, it's also the culture of the board, right? And it's interesting because it's like when I work with companies and or interviewing to work with companies, if I talk to the board members and they have board and I talk to the board members and I'm like, I'm never going to get everyone to come together. I'm not going to be able to do it. So if I come in and work, you want me to do this, you want me to do this, you want me to do this, you want me to do this.
Right.
You're setting me up for failure. I'm exhausted. You're exhausted. I don't want this job. Right. But when I go in and if the board members are aligned, it's like that's a completely different company. And I see that as something where it's like we're all going in the same place. We could scale faster. We could scale stronger. We're going to
Yeah.
scale better. And
Yeah.
it's amazing because I think people don't really consider that. It's like when you're interviewing someone to come onto your company, you're interviewing them also to see if they're a part of your culture. Like, is the investor going to be aligned with the vision, with the goal? I love that you guys did that. I love it. Yeah.
No doubt whatsoever, Carly.
Yeah.
It has to do with, do you believe in the vision? Do you, more importantly, share values? Are you someone who, when it gets hard,
Yeah.
because I assure you, it will get hard. Are you going to continue to grind? Are you going to give up? Are you the kind of person that is going to care enough about the people around you to understand how it affects them? We don't have a ton of employees at LARC for a reason.
Yeah.
And because we all will give everything we've got to each other. We're all in the foxhole together. And so you're fighting for each other out there, and you're sharing values, and you're sharing some ownership in the company. That's also important, because everyone needs to be of value, right? They need to feel like they matter in the system. So that's really important. But I'm a culture guy altogether, but more so I'm a values guy. And are you going to be the person who, I know when things get hard, you're just going to grind up the hill with me? So
Yeah.
that's critical.
Amazing. Yeah, it's really beautiful advice. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, and also this dynamic to just your company overall, right? Because if I visualize a packing company and wooden crates and stuff, I can visualize like a warehouse and storage and people producing things and storing it until they sell it. So I imagine you're much leaner because you're not like storing and throwing away and all this different dynamics that like an actual crate company. Like, what does your company look like versus potentially what an additional crating company would look like?
So a traditional craning company builds major factories with
Yeah.
lots of equipment, lots of employees, use tons of power. We don't own our own factories. We actually outsource that, which is great, because we produce enough that we're very high on the list of getting things done. So, and we can do it in locations nearer our customers and where their needs are. And it's not a ton of capital for us to lay out, right? So
Mhm.
we're able to really become an engineering firm and put a lot of our resources into, are we going to better engineering on this? Are we going to be, more lean in how we're producing things? Are we going to look at things and take the time and energy and resource to say, can this be done incrementally better? So by doing that, we don't have this massive overhead. We're not, using up tons of resources. Hey, I need more crates, go cut down, 10,000 more trees, put them on the trucks, haul them here. Once our crates exist in the world, they're going to be used hundreds, if not thousands of times. And we've had customers who've used our crates for 5 years straight, no,
Yeah.
not stop. And so it really is a wholly different scenario, right? And this is something I like to talk about, because we need people to start thinking the way that our ancestors did, our grandparents and great grandparents did. And I'm going to buy that radio, and you go into your grandfather's house 70 years later and the radio is still there and it's working because someone repaired it when it broke, or they reused things. We're very much a throwaway society now. Oh, that car's done. 2 years later, get a new car, scrap that one. We didn't think that way back in the days when I was born, right in the 1970s.
Yeah.
People reuse things. We ate leftovers. My God, I can't believe that happened, but we did actually eat leftovers. And so we weren't a throwaway society, but now we are, and we need to get back to the more traditional view of reuse, recycle, reduce, reduce, reuse, recycle. That's simple sustainability, right? If I can use something, and my crate, by the way, can ship a server rack, and if you take the lid off and just make it a single tier, it can ship accessories or 10,000 other things. So it can be used and standardized across all models for the company. So now I don't need as many. I'm literally cutting it by 80-90% of my physical need of product.
Hmm.
So that's a way to do it. I'm going to reuse, I'm going to repurpose this for something else. And so everything about what we
Yeah.
do there is unique. And so I'm not going to build a $200 million factory and ship in, tens of millions of dollars of equipment and, 1,000 workers running, night and day, cutting things, using all kinds of power. It's such an archaic concept when we think we're in 2026 now. We would think that, we can do this better. So, I mean, it'd be like, I always think I get on an airplane, the airplane's going to fly, 10,000 more routes before it's out of service, right? It's not like we use an airplane once.
Yeah.
Okay, we used it, we're good. It's kind of the same model, right? And when these crates are costing $2,000, $3,000 a piece, it starts to get a little bit ridiculous financially. And even if you're a $1 trillion company and you can save $10 million on this project moving to these crates, it's still $10 million. It's not like, well, I'm not going to do that. That doesn't make sense. So, yeah, again, everything about us is different. We even look different. I mean, from a packaging company, you think we'd be sort of industrial. We're kind of like cooler, cutting edge. Listen, I'm in my 50s, so I can't be super cool and cutting edge, but I want to be as cool and cutting edge as I like. I mean, as at least I can. So we're just, everything about us is just different, and we're just the modern version of a box, I guess.
Yeah, that's really cool. And even, I mean, I love that dynamic with sustainability you're talking about as well. And I think all companies are starting to think more about sustainability. And I think you bring up a very valid point. It's like you saw in this industry a lack of sustainability. You saw something archaic, something not moving forward, and you're becoming the Google of the LARC, right? Like this
Yeah.
is a LARC box. We need a LARC, which is so cool, right?
So in the end, everyone's doing it. Yes, it's starting to happen.
Yeah,
Yes, I don't
it's
think
starting to
it's
happen. But
yeah.
that's amazing. And that's because you're doing the paradigm shift. And for us to do a paradigm shift, it's like we have to see it's like which industry is archaic, like where are they lacking, where are they not moving forward, and how do we move up with the times? Because some industries are, but you're right, there's a significant quantity that haven't caught up yet. Like they just don't know what to do or how to do it.
Well, let me give you an example. Right now, as you and I are speaking, there's over 1 billion wood pallets moving around the world. 1
It's
billion.
insane.
Yeah. And there's something like 100 million wood crates at any given moment moving around the world. Think about that from the concept of just the number of trees. You know, the average crate for moving a server rack will cost you 2 timber trees. You have to cut down 2 trees to support the width of it.
Wild. That's
Yeah,
actually
so-
wild.
Yeah, it's wild, right? And think about how many data centers are coming up and how many millions and millions and millions of these things move. So you're talking about tens and tens of millions of trees cut down and tens of millions of gallons of fuel used to process that and tens of thousands of chemicals and glues and, you know, VOCs and all kinds of things that go into making that board wood, and heat and energy and so forth. So it's just, it's every sort of sustainability person's nightmare. But also from a business perspective, if I were to present my business model and the wood crate business model to my business professor, this gets an A and this fails because it's low margin, it's very commoditized, it's hard to get stuff sometimes, it's sustainability nightmare. Mine's not any of those things.
Yeah.
So, it's just we were like I said, started with Napkin, so it was a clean sketch on how we could do this. So we've done it very differently than everyone else has.
Amazing. And I'm curious too, because when we think about even the size of your team, like how many people do you actually have on your team?
So at any given time, we have about 20 people.
Amazing.
It's unbelievable, but that's the inner layer. So we do things very differently. We kind of do in layers. Then we have contractors that kind of captive contractors that work with us constantly on stuff. And so people look at us, so you're too small to support, you know, what we do, but that's not the case at all because of our model. It's just so different. I just don't have 1,000 people with bandsaws out there cutting wood. Right. Yeah. And so it allows us to be really focused on just cutting edge engineering and the best that we can be and servicing the heck out of our customers and being part of the solution. So we go hand in glove with our customers. Okay, how can we're not just going to give you the crate. We're going to come and solution this with you, with our partners or with your people. And we're going to make sure it gives you exactly what you want because it is different. But it also, our entire model is we don't have to be thousands of people. I don't need an assistant who goes and, you know, grabs me coffee. I'm fully capable of doing that, right? I'm fully capable of rolling up my sleeves as the CEO of the company. And if a truck needs to be packed, I'm there at 6 o'clock and I'll help pack the truck. It doesn't matter to me, right? So that's the other thing. You get the people who are willing to do those jobs, even if it, you know, it's beneath me, right? That's silly. As an entrepreneur, nothing should be beneath you. You know, sweep the floor, clean the toilets, do whatever you have to do, and so support your customers at a level that no one else is doing. You know, that's the key to success, right there.
And when you guys do the products as well, are you also doing customized products for individuals?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. So we have a number of companies, very large companies coming to us now looking for solutions. You know, one of them, I can name Schneider Electric came to us recently and said, we need a better way to move our sheet metal through our factories. So we redesigned the sheet metal carts that they're using and they bought a whole bunch of them. We produced them for them. We just had a very large aerospace contractor come to us to build some prototypes on moving some military equipment for them that they had been using a case that had been made since, I think, 1956.
Yeah.
So I think we need to upgrade this. And so we've developed a whole new thing that's going to be coming out here soon for them. We do things like, high security boxes for telcos that have massive theft of phones. And so we have a lot of those guys using our crates now, our high security versions of our crates that are trackable and so forth. So we do whole ground engineering from the ground up, and we do modifications to our platform constantly based on the needs of those customers. And so there's a lot of opportunities there as well. And it's kind of cool when they're I guess in the biggest companies in the world, my phone rings like, hello, like, hey, this is the VP of, you know, Superco, and you're like, okay, well, you know, we need this solution. We heard your name, so next thing you know, we're designing something for them, and that's really neat. That's a very
You know, I think this is interesting too, because when I think about customization, right? Like there was a time when customization was very expensive to do, and so most people were not doing customization. And Like, I mean, I love fashion, so I think about fashion all the time. And I study those companies a
So
lot.
do I. It's obvious, right?
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I love it so much. But it's like back in the day, that was the thing. Like you would go to Chanel and you just get your custom dress. Like there's a couple items available, but for the most part, people were getting a lot of customized items, right? Like that was
Yeah.
what you do back in the day. Then we shift to the non-custom sort of form because it's just too expensive to do that. You're not able to reach much people. It seems to me, and it could be wrong, but like I'm curious as well if you're noticing this because it sounds like you're able to do the customization, but it's not this crazy high like cost process anymore. So it's like the customer gets to be more greatly satisfied while you're also able to just kind of feed everyone's individual needs to a greater degree. It makes it easier on their end, easier on your end. As would you say customization is starting to get significantly easier?
Yeah, it's still volume dependent, but absolutely. With the design systems that exist today, with the capabilities that exist in new equipment for bending metals and cutting plastics and
Yeah.
molds, so forth. Yeah, it's definitely getting better. It's not like we're going to make one-offs. I mean, we can, but when the volume is there, absolutely, you can customize very easily, especially when we have a platform like we have, because everything's based on the platform design. So we just have to modify what we're doing typically, unless it's a ground up build. And even that, because of the technology that exists out there, it's very quick to design. We can go through iterations quickly. You know, manufacturing when you're building is there's been new technologies designed to make
Mhm.
things cheaper, where you can build models through 3D printing. And so the customer can say, yeah, that's exactly what I want. So you're not going through, I have to build tooling to make a prototype. And, you know, it's become a lot less expensive. And the design tools have become much faster to use. And there's
Yeah.
just a certain knowledge base out there that makes that easier. I mean, you know, I too would like to go to Dior and get a couture suit made, but that's probably not going to happen. It would be more expensive what we make at LARC, but
Yeah.
um, you know, it should think things have changed. That's what people have to understand. You know, technology is evolving so fast out there that the solutions are there. They're absolutely there to make prototyping. And I think rapid prototyping has probably been the thing that's changed the most, that we can, customers, yes, that works. So that's really cut the cost and time dramatically. So yeah, we can do a lot of that stuff very quickly. It doesn't mean we don't, you know, trip over ourselves sometimes doing it, but you know, it has become, this is not 1995, right? This is
Yeah.
2026. And so we have a whole different scenario going on.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so you're a really engineering focused company now, which I love. So like, you know, every company I know we decide to invest in different things. And as a packaging shipping company, you're like, we're not going to have our own warehouse. We're not going to produce this ourselves. We're not going to get the machines. We're going to focus on engineering. What helped you to make that decision? What were some of the levers that you noticed that you're like, this is the direction I want to go. This is what I want to focus on. Because you still could have a factory, you still could be producing. But
Yeah.
this is that, yeah, you chose instead to be like, I want to put the most of our profit into engineering instead.
Yeah. So the speed and cost. When setting up factories takes years,
Mhm.
and there's people out there who already have the equipment, who have capacity, and they're already running. You're going to get a scale there because they're building for 50 other customers. So my costs are going to be dramatically cheaper than, you know,
Mhm.
building a factory. So there's that, and then speed. It's much easier to go out there where they already exist and make tooling and just build something, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of like you said, you're into fashion, right? If you start your own fashion brand, you're not going to build your own factory. There's too many fashion places, you know, houses out there that can build this stuff in Asia or Europe, and you say they're geared for it, and they're geared to share that economy of scale, right? So it's a shared economy. If 100 customers can share it, that shared economy is going to drag your prices way down. Now, speed becomes an issue, but we're big enough now that our factories, we say jump, they're like, they're going after it, right? There's enough volume there. Early on, it's a little tougher, but at the end of the day, it's all speed and it's cost, and it's the ability to service your customers locally, right? I can find a factory doing this in different places already in the world, and it's not going to cost me 18 months and, you know, $100 million to build a factory. And I thought we will probably never do that, because we don't know what we're going to be building the next day. So someone out there is building it, that we can build it. So we're going to go and source that. And again, it allows us to focus on being the best engineers. Now, having said that, I'm the one guy at the company that's not an engineer. I'm a logistician. So, you know, I've learned a lot about it, but we all bring something to the table. And by being engineering focused, we all can look at a project and say, you know, it would be better if it worked like that. not because the industry's always done it this way. If you want to make me angry at LARC, tell you, well, that's the way they've always done it. That'll get me hot faster than anything.
That's awesome.
We're not out to disrupt. We're out to destroy. We're out to change, and that's a whole different ballgame. So all this is the way we've always done it. We're just going to modify this widget. No, we're going to destroy the whole concept and rebuild the concept. So being engineering focused is the key. Being able to customize, being able to focus on customer needs, and really just shut up and say to the customer, what do you need? And they say, what will be super cool, but no one can do it. And say, well, we can do it. And so we'll do that for you. And so that changes the whole dynamic. And, again, going back to the fashion world, right? Hopefully you've had some custom made clothes. I've been fortunate enough to have some. It's a whole different ball game when it's made for you, right? It's like, that kind of feels nice, right? Same thing with making a shipping system or a logistical design, or working with one of the biggest, freight forwarders in the world and saying, we're going to change this model and how we're doing this thing. And it just works better. So you got to stay loose and flexible, and being small allows us to do that. These big companies can't innovate because there's too many layers. Our layers are, it works, that doesn't, let's go. Fail fast and fix fast and keep on rolling. We're always going to be pure entrepreneurs at LARC. Everybody's an entrepreneur at LARC.
Hey everyone, it's Carly. So if this conversation is really hitting home and you want to get a real snapshot of what's working and what's not in your business, head on over to my website in the tools and tips section, and you can have the business performance health check. In just about 15 minutes, you're going to see where the friction is and where your next growth opportunity lies within your company. And I'm curious because even as you scale, right? Like something you're sharing where you're like, the bigger companies can't do this. How will you scale it in such a way to ensure that you can hold on to this model, that you don't have to let it go?
Yeah, I mean, our model supports scaling because we have outside factories that are doing it. So we become kind of glorified order takers at some point, right? And we just start spitting these things out and getting them in. Now, no one ever comes to you and says, I need 10,000 crates next week. That just doesn't happen, not with anybody, because the scale's too big. They'll say over the next 11 months, I need 4,000, 5,000 crates. So you just start scaling those out over time, and they transition into it. And the cool part about LARC is once you have our crates, you have them. So it's not like we need more of them because they got tossed out each time. It's okay, we're just bringing them back and bringing them back out of cycle. So again, 100,000 needed, 8 to 10,000 of our crates are going to support that.
Yeah. And you mentioned too, so are you specifically with every customer, no matter where they are in the world, instead of using like a factory that and you trust that maybe is near you, and you have someone, in California and you're in Tennessee, would you find a factory in California? Is that to save costs, or like, how does that, how are you guys?
We use our existing factories, and then because our crates fold down, a lot of them fit in containers. And so we'll just ship them in. Because so many fit, the cost per unit is really low. So we just start shipping them in, or they're made here in the US and we just truck them in. And so instead of paying the overhead for the $200 million factory and electricity and workers, we just bring the stuff in, and that's where a little bit of the cost is, but it's not much because of the way our crates work. So we do have some standardization in our manufacturing. Bringing up factories, to do our stuff takes a little bit of time. So we will bring some up every now and then in a different location, but we really haven't had to. I mean, the transport cycles support us and allows us to move things very quickly into locations pretty much anywhere in the world.
Okay. And are you mainly focused working with factories in the US, or do you also work with factories globally?
So we have 2 factories we work with in Asia and one very large factory we work with in the United States. And so that supports enough. I mean, they can bang these things out fast enough that we can support orders of thousands of crates over, a few months. So, and I think if I were to guess, I mean, I don't know for sure how big the wood factories are, but we can probably produce faster than the wood crate factories because we're made out of plastic, and there's tools and molds, and they get assembled, and it might take roughly the same time. But again, once my crate is there, you're going to use it 24 times that year. I don't need 24 wood crates made. So the time scales are very, very different.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
And okay, so I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if I remember correctly, you said people stay at LARC for a really long time. Yes?
Yeah, no one's ever left LARC.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Well, it's because I threaten them if they do. So no, we're very much a family company. The same people have been here has always been here. And we intend to stay that way. We take very good care of each other. And that is, you want the absolute key to success: care about each other, take care of each other, and believe in each other. And that will move the needle further than almost anything you could possibly.
It's
And,
beautiful.
and that's, if someone were to leave LARC, it would have to be for a pretty serious reason or pretty serious opportunity. And God bless them if they do. But right now, people are pretty happy with what we're doing in the world.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you another question too, because I think that so many people would love to understand this dynamic. And when you hire someone, you said LARC is a company of entrepreneurs, right? But you have a bunch of people that stay with you forever.
Yep.
So I think part of the trick about hiring people with an entrepreneur mentality, right, is that you might just be training someone later to be an entrepreneur. How can you differentiate between when you
Well,
hire someone?
you keep them entrepreneurs in the company. Like, everyone
Yeah.
has an entrepreneurial mindset. Everyone owns a piece of the company.
Yeah.
Everyone working for themselves at some level, right? And trying to build for the whole. And the idea is everyone has a say. I don't care who you are, right? Everyone's going to come in and say, I think, again, I'm the one guy who's not the engineer, right? And I'm going to come in and say, I think we should do that. And all the engineers look at me like I'm an idiot, and then we end up doing it. But yeah, everyone, entrepreneurial mindset is just, am I going to be, militant in my approach on how we do this? Am I going to think about a better way to do stuff? Because I don't care. You could be at the biggest company in the world, right? NVIDIA right now, the biggest company in the world. The guy sweeping the floor, and I was like, see someone, they go, there's might be a better way to do this, right? You don't know. So you have to listen to what everyone has to say, right? You have to be respectful, because the strangest ideas sometimes get made, right? I mean, I drew an idea on a napkin. People would say, that's kind of strange, but here we are, right? So I think that entrepreneurial mindsets and people who want to go out and do their own thing, and if they do, I hope they do, right? The world needs more entrepreneurs, more warriors, more people who challenge the status quo. But if you're just allowed to be an entrepreneur within the company, and I think this is something big companies need to do more of. They need to have more of this sort of rogue element within their structure that's allowed to do all kinds of crazy things, right? There's been some companies that have done that, but very successfully. But as long as you're allowed to have that entrepreneurial mindset, then you're satisfying that itch, right? You're saying, wow, like my own son does some work for us, and he came in one day and said, there's a better way to do it. He's an engineer down at Auburn University, and he designed a tool for us that we're going to use to do something faster. And like, that's great, right? So he'll get a patent on this tool that he invented at our company. So entrepreneurial mindset, right? And I think as long as people are allowed to continue to do that kind of thing, I think that they're going to appreciate always working for us and be a part of that growth as we continue to scale up.
Yeah, that's very cool. I think that's a great example, great way to put it. It's I don't know if have you seen, they did the whole movie on the guy, the janitor. You said the janitor who actually was in charge of creating the flaming Cheetos, basically. Like,
no, I haven't seen that. I haven't even heard of that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was really good. It's a good story, and it was just fun because I was like, I didn't even know that, but it's the responsibility of a janitor when they were starting to close factories. He saw a gap in the niche market with the Latino families and Latino like market in general, and they like things spicy. And so he's like, him and his wife made the actual like seasoning, wound up getting it finally to the owner, and it worked out. Like, it was amazing. It's and it's the janitor, and he became like the VP, I think, of multicultural sales or something. And he's was with the company forever. It's amazing. So it's like you're saying.
Yeah. You never know where a good idea comes.
You never know.
Right. I mean, I think I mentioned Spanx earlier, right? That idea just came because someone wanted to have a better way to, look slimmer or whatever. Giant company now, right? And so you never know. I remember someone invented a thing that went between your seat and your console on your car because it kept dropping pens and chains. The guy became a millionaire doing that, right? So, ideas come from everywhere. It's just, the question is, I have an idea, now can I execute it? I mean, ideas are, every one of us has $1 million idea every day. The question is, can you execute on it? Do you have what it takes to be that person? And that's a whole different discussion, right? That's like do you have the psychology to actually execute and bring that thing into the world? Because what is it? 4% of all companies make it. And
that's not much, by the way.
You want a great story? At a Christmas party, actually, one day I saw my co-founder, Chris Taylor, and it was a Friday night and just long week. And I just said, wow, we're really grinding right now. And I actually got an AI system and I put in all the things about LARC. I said, what are the odds that we exist today in the way we've done this? And it came back and I said, you got a founder who I'm the guy who never graduated college, worked in Silicon Valley, all this stuff, but just a grinding guy. We make a hard product that services the biggest companies in the world. And we're actually working with those guys, small Tennessee company, went through all the iterations. It said, the chances of this happening are fractionally less than 0.1%. And then it said something funny. It pulls up and it says, did you actually do this? And I said, yeah, our team actually did this. And what it came back with, it said, you are in rarefied air. You're an extraordinary group of people, is what it's. Yeah. And what that meant to me was more than anything I can tell anybody. I told my team that at our Christmas party this year, and it literally made me emotional because any company's at a start is 4%, roughly 3%, but to start really making it past 3, 4, 5 years and do this kind of thing, it has to be people who really believe and are doing very extraordinary things and have that entrepreneurial mindset that's just going to keep driving and driving and driving forward. That's what it takes. Like I said, I don't care if it's a donut shop or you make anything, a shoe cobbler, just give it everything you got and truly believe in the idea.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful reminder for people as well, because it's something that I hadn't known as well. Like, I think it was like 10 years into my business and I hadn't known that. And I have all these like imposter syndrome thoughts going in. And one of my coaches told me that. And I was like, and she's like, you're doing really well. Most people didn't even make it. And I think it's really important for people to remember that. It's like you said, it takes a lot of that mindset component, that grit, that inspiration, that when everything's falling apart, it's like, let's move forward. Let's come up with new ideas. You're doing it on the fly. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. You're like, oh my gosh, it's like all these different things and all these different dynamics. It really is quite a journey. I kind of compare it to like a boxing ring.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, I've boxed before and it's like, you're sitting in the boxing ring. Someone goes at you. Yeah, you go left, you go right. Sometimes you get hit. You got to get back up again. And if you don't get up fast, you're on the ground and you're going to lose. And it's like, that's what entrepreneurship feels like to me sometimes, building a business.
It's what Mike Tyson says. Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny, Carl, if I can, I actually have a book coming out about this very thing.
Yes, you can. Please.
And, it's right there. It's called Militant Mind. And it literally is about the psychology of this. And what you said, that imposter syndrome, I actually talk about that in there. But what I've come to realize is that entrepreneurs, we are people typically who have some wound in our life, some fracture. And as, was it Lao Tzu says, no, it's Rumi, the poet says, the fracture is where the light comes in, right?
Yes.
And we're people who have been damaged in some way, at least the good ones out there. We have been hurt in ways. And what this is a psychology of building a company. And what you come to realize in the end is that, you go through periods of isolation and self-doubt. And, we look good on the podcast, right? What people don't see is what happens in the background, more so what happens in here. And your company scales as you scale as a person, as you heal whatever it is that held you back. The greatest builders in the world are the ones who were truly damaged in life, who didn't believe in the system, who was raped over the coals and said, you're not enough, you're not good enough. And so entrepreneurship in many ways is a process of healing. It is a process of becoming the leader you're supposed to come, knowing that ego is important at the beginning, but a disaster later. You have to evolve as you grow. And what you're talking about, the box, man, it's punch after punch. It's not just grit, it's psychological warfare. And that's the thing that nobody talks about, right? Everyone can give you 1,000 books on this, how you start companies, how you raise money. That's all semantics in the end. That's just all process. What it really is the growth of the founders, the growth of the people who believe in it. And it's a battlefield. It really, truly is. And so I wrote this for my children, actually, and I realized that I think the world needs it because I've got the greatest idea in the world, and the world's going to beat a path to my door. That's not at all how this happens. And so I think that you know, the subtitle is the psychology of building what doesn't exist. And so you have to somehow, with all your cobwebs and damages and all this craziness that goes on in here that we never all admit to, you have to somehow take this idea and pull it out of there and make it into the real world. And that's the hardest part of it all. I mean, truly. But if you get through that, if I, I guess talked about the rarefied air and extraordinary people, it's not there because you came up with the greatest idea. It's there because you survived what it took to be there. You endured, and that is what I think is probably the most important message I could ever give to anybody who wants to start a company is, one, be honest with yourself. Are you that person? Are you truly willing to go through the fire? And I mean, to the point where it drops you to your knees, the point where you're staring at, at the ceiling at night and saying, do I have what it takes? Can I do it? And there's a lot of exceptions out there when companies are, we're going to put $1 billion. That's a whole different thing. But the people who build the things that truly do not yet exist, that's a different founder. That is a different person. And everybody, every single one of my compatriots out there who have built something that mattered, everyone, if you ask them, what happened to you before this? It's a very difficult story. They were damaged, hurt, didn't believe in themselves. Something happened to them that they had to overcome. And that overcoming was the strength that they needed to be able to do this. So it's a great story. And it's, we see the pretty side of it, but we don't see the grinding, gut wrenching side of what it takes to do this. And so I thought I'd share that with the world. So.
Yeah, no, I know that it's actually like incredibly important. And it's that dynamic where business owners, entrepreneurs, they think in their head, I just got to get this done. I just got to do this. I just got to do that. And it's all the business strategy. And sometimes they forget about like the internal dynamic that's really going on. And it is true. You correlate your growth with your own business. It is fascinating. It is amazing. It is very cool. Yeah.
There needs to be almost more research done on it.
Like
as
phenomenal.
you grow psychologically and your strength, like you can, I can almost literally like day for day see it happen, right? Like when I'm not where I'm supposed to be, things aren't happening. When I am where I'm supposed to be, things are happening. And there's just a lot of, there's a lot of strength involved that people aren't aware of. They think, oh, this person has a lot of experience, but do they have that just metal inside of them? Do they have that infrastructure, that architecture that says, I am not going to be the person I was then. I am not going to allow the past to dictate my life, my wounds to dictate my life. I'm going to get my butt up off the floor, no matter how much it hurts. And I'm going to move no matter what. And that, you want to know what an entrepreneur is? I think the French word for entrepreneur probably means like grinder, because you just have to grind through that kind of stuff, but not just the days, the pain. And it's almost a healing process. It's very interesting to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very interesting. And it's cool too, because it's like the whole journey of entrepreneurship, of building your business, of scaling it. And it doesn't matter where you're scaling it from. It pushes us so much, which I love, in directions that we don't believe in ourselves. Like we didn't think we could do it. We weren't sure if we could do it, but the impact that you're making, it's like, and which I love that you see it with what you're doing in the packaging and creating all of it. Like, I love that you've linked that up already. A lot of people don't see it. And I'm like, how do you not see what you do? I'm like, how do you not
I ask that question every day.
Yeah. And it's like, that's the impact that you make. And when you connect with the impact, it's like that step to move beyond your own perceptions of yourself, beyond those misperceptions, the dynamics and the things where I can't do this, I have imposter syndrome. It shifts and it changes, because all of a sudden you're like, I know that I don't believe in myself, but this is too important. Sometimes the employees, it's like my employees are too important to walk away from, which I've had founders and stuff who have had those dynamics. One of them got slammed, but the employees were like too important for him to walk away from. And he's like, I got to sort this out. I got to get my shit together, because at the end of the day, like I'm helping them put food on their family's table. And then all of a sudden it's like, he's in a position today where he's doing so well. Like, it's like, like it's like a $60 million company now, and he's doing so well, but it was like, he had to get through that oomph. He had to get over it. And it wasn't just him, it was the employees and the impact and all the things that made. And because of that responsibility, it's because of the responsibility that we get to the other side. It doesn't take us down. It doesn't burn us out. It's what actually gets us to the other side.
Yeah. And it's exactly right. Exactly right. we have to dig really, really deep sometimes, and
Yeah.
we have to find purpose in what we're doing. And you go through moments of insane isolation, insane questioning, and just times where am I good enough? And even, we look at these people out there who built these mega companies, and every one of them went through a period of, am I good enough? Right? Can I do this? You
Yeah.
look at guys like Steve Jobs, his history, it's rough, right? And he people see us oftentimes as angry. And one of the chapters I write about is using your dark energy properly, right? People think, God, this person's angry and intense. I don't know if you've ever been called. I get called that damn near every day of my life.
I'm
Every
Italian, half
Okay,
Italian, and I was raised in an Italian culture. So
gotcha.
people find me very intense, and I'm like, I'm just Italian, bro. Go to
Just
Italy. Where'd you
dying.
go?
The food's
Yeah.
great. But it's
Uh,
those are the people who actually make it because they have a fire inside them that they can control, and sometimes not control. But
Yep.
they're the ones that get stuff done because they know the cost of not getting it done is not just not failing a company, it's failing yourself. And it's they know that they're battling through the psychology of what's trying to hold you back. And I don't know how many times in your starting your company where you sat, at the end of the day and just collapsed emotionally, right? You're just like, oh my gosh, right? And I just put it out there as real. I'm just a person who's going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I'm not a guy who's going to say, I am a very tough guy, but I'm not going to say that I don't have my moments that have literally brought me to my knees. And some people are, but I'm a person with incredibly deep faith, because you have to be. There will be times where this will get way too heavy for a human being, and so
Yeah.
faith for me is very important. Faith in God, faith in my peers, faith in the team. You have to have great faith. But I think the end of the day, it's about getting your mind around, I am better than my past. I am better than my circumstance. I can build from nothing if I have to, let go of the fear. Those kind of things matter. And those are the guys and the gals out there building the companies that just literally change the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really I mean it's really beautiful. I love what you're sharing too, because it's that dynamic of legacy, right? It's like what's the legacy we want to leave behind? I mean, I'm gonna say obviously for yours, you haven't told me. I'm gonna assume you want to change the planet. Because of
Yes.
yeah, so I'm assuming that based on everything that you shared, and it's like, is that becomes the thing that we work towards. That becomes the thing that when you give up on yourself, it's like you're giving up on all of these other things as well. And so it's like, let's just go through that pain to get to the other side. Let's just figure this out because it's just too important. It becomes too important. And how important it is to work on not just what we're doing on this planet, but also like ourselves so we can be the people that we would love to be. We can make the change that we would love to change because I love businesses for that reason. They are a philanthropic tool. You get paid to help people. It's like the best
Yeah.
thing on the planet. It's the coolest thing ever. The more people you help, the more money you make. And you're like, that's amazing. Like,
It is
what?
amazing. And purpose is everything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we do a thing at LARC where we donate some money from each crate to a program we called Haven to help stop human and sex trafficking, right? Horrible evil. So,
Yeah.
you've got to be giving something back. But my purpose is, even for legacy, it's my family. It's my name that matters. And for me personally, share something very personally. It's overcoming my past, which was tough. I went through some very, very difficult times growing up. Like I said, I don't have a college degree. I didn't have those networks. I went through a bunch of very, very rough personal things, lost my parents very early. And so there's a thing that most entrepreneurs, you have to prove something to yourself. This is a proving ground, right? You're saying, I am going to do what I have to do to show that I am worthy of doing this, right? And
Yeah.
as you grow, those old ghosts kind of fade away, right? Those things kind of say, I have no hold on this person anymore. And so, as I said, I've started a number of companies. It's been tough. It's been a grind. And each one I learn more. I become more of the person I'm meant to be. And I think if you keep that in mind, it's not the thing that's going to pay the bills, but it is the thing that's going to get you out of bed every morning. So that is
Yeah.
very, very important. It's the thing that, every builder of empire had that thought, right? There's greatness in me and I'm going to show it.
Yeah. That's a really important thing to remember as well, is you're right, it might not pay the bills, but getting out of bed every day and enjoying the journey, and not just thinking I need to have the successful business, but I'm enjoying what it takes to make it successful. That's what's going to make you be able to actually make it successful. But part of that is remembering too, like, this is you creating that dynamic, that life, that individual that you think you were destined to be, and giving
Yeah.
yourself permission to see it no matter what anyone says. So yeah, I really
Yeah.
love that.
You definitely realize at some point the world is too small for the person you want to be, or
Yeah.
your life is too small. And you just say, you get one go around at this thing. So let's go hard at it. Right.
Yeah.
Let's do it for the people we care about. At the end of the day, strange. It's going to sound very cliche. At the end of the day, it's about love. It's love the people, who are taking this journey with you. So that's why you do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I think this is a perfect note to end on. You have one life. Make sure you're living it fully. Do the things you're destined to do. And it's really about loving the people, loving the planet, loving yourself. So
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool message. Thank you so much for being on. Yeah, this was amazing. And where can people find you, your company? I'll put it in the show notes as well.
Yeah. So through our website, it's the shortest one in the world, is LARC, LARC.co, not com. It's .co. I joke, I say, we couldn't afford the M when we started the company, so we just went LARC.co. And then you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Samuel Berman, the birth name, Samuel Berman. So you can find me there, and just reach out. I try and answer people. I do get a lot of emails, but I try and answer everybody. A lot of young entrepreneurs kind of reach out to me, so I like to talk to them when I can. But yeah, easiest way to reach me.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll definitely put all that in the show notes. Thank you again for coming. If you guys like this, feel free to share it, like it, send it to someone else who you think it'd be really helpful for. And again, thank you so much, Sam. This was really inspiring one.
Thank you, Carla. That was great. I appreciate it.